I have a relatively benign recurring nightmare. I'm behind the bar where I worked in my early 20s, which is a cocktail lounge in Chicago. It has a 30-foot tall floor-to-ceiling glass window, and it's a rush. There are customers everywhere lining up, desperately trying to get my attention. Some of them are literally waving money at me, and I have forgotten how to make every single drink on the menu. So I do the only thing that I can. I turn my back on them. I pretend they aren't there. I look out through the window, and then I wake up. In rabbinical school, a friend shared with me that her recurring nightmare was a little more relevant to our upcoming career. In her dream, the Torah is acting like a pet. It wiggles, it squirms. She's holding it, and suddenly, of its own volition, it jumps straight out of her arms. And the silver lining, she always said, was that she woke up right before it hit the floor. P'tui, p'tui. Kaye Nahara, bli ayin hara. She wrote to me just a few days ago, and she said, "Have you heard? 2 Torahs got dropped this last weekend." I was stunned. First of all, the full-on dropping of a Torah is a rarity. Most rabbis I know, except for this friend, we don't have anxiety dreams about this, because why would you? This never happens. There is always someone nearby to catch someone who's having a misstep. There is always a steady hand to assist when the scroll gets heavy. People who do Hagbah, the ritual lifting of the scroll, we train them. And yes, there are close calls, but lay leaders and clergy alike, we go to superhuman lengths. We move at nearly impossible speed. We appear from nowhere to make sure that this never happens. And so our teacher in rabbinical school would sometimes offer a story about one time they knew someone who dropped a Torah. But dropping a Torah, it's such a rarity, it's such a taboo, it's such an unthinkable outcome that when it happens, it can actually become newsworthy. It actually gets covered in the Jewish press. And to drop 2 in a single weekend, unheard of. And indeed, the JTA, the Jewish Telegraph Agency, did produce an article on Tuesday of this week detailing exactly what happened. 2 congregations, both in New York, both inclusive modern Orthodox shuls, had Torah scrolls fall and hit the floor. Though the article makes it very clear that it is a complete freak accident because it was not even people who dropped the scrolls. Rather, they fell from their secured position as of nowhere out from the Aron HaKodesh. Now, it's fine. I promise. I checked. Many people are aware that there is a minhag, that there is a tradition that says when you drop the Torah, everyone must fast for 40 days. Thank God for you, for 40 days. But this tradition, as much as it sounds like it is based in textuality, after all, Moses goes up the mountain for 40 days after dropping the very first Torah at Mount Sinai. It doesn't actually have legal weight. There is no case of dropping the Torah discussed in the Talmud, in the Gemara. And the closest citation being the declaration of formal mourning, including the tearing of Kriya, in the unfortunate case when a Torah is destroyed in a fire. The 17th century Italian Kabbalist Rabbi Moshe Zacuto is given credit for popularizing the teaching that if you see a Torah fall, you should fast. And his teaching later became the formal opinion of the Posek, Rabbi Avraham Gombiner, who was a legal authority in Poland in the 18th century. And then an abbreviated version of that ruling appeared in the Shulchan Aruch's most recent printing from the 19th century, which made it officially a suggested halacha. You should fast, perhaps, if you see a Torah fall, but there is no mention of 40 days anywhere. Nevertheless, perhaps because of its severity, or perhaps because of the symbolic nature of that number 40, that 40-day fast is very well known, even though it's actually unclear if it's ever once been observed. So what happened? What happened in New York this week? Do you think 2 separate Jewish communities in New York are going to fast for the next 40 days? No. No. The first congregation has instead opted for a day of learning, followed by opportunities to give generous tzedakah. And Rabbi Jeffrey Fox, who was leading the service at the time when the Torah fell from the ark, explained his reasoning. He said, "I sense a gap between the Torah that is being taught out there in the world and the Torah that this generation really needs. And it is as if a Torah has been dropped. I pray that I and my congregation, through this tzedakah, might be a small part of picking up the Torah and bringing its spark back into this world that needs it so much." And the second congregation did encourage a day of fasting, a day, not 40 days, and also then encouraged all who were present at the tefillah and all who wished to join them from across their greater community to observe that fast day. And then they too encouraged learning and tzedakah as an additional method of adding to the tikkun, to the repair on this occurrence. And Rabbi Ethan Tucker, who is their posek, the rabbi whose halachic opinion they follow, quoted and taught in the name of Rav Avadia Yosef, Zichronom Livracha, the former Orthodox Sephardic chief rabbi of Israel, said that, quote, "Keep a dropped Torah in perspective, learning Torah in honor of and atonement for its falling is just as valuable, if not more so, than the fast." Elul, the Hebrew month in which we find ourselves right now, is a month which is marked above all by the spiritual notion of tshuva, of repentance. Now is the time to make the rights and the wrongs last year right, to be introspective about the things we should not have done and the things we did by mistake that caused harm to others. The fear of dropping a Torah scroll is so traumatic, it is so dread-inducing, it is a moment that resonates so deeply within our Jewish hearts that we have conjured for ourselves an impossible punishment, a 40-day fast, and we've placed it directly into our collective psyche. But what stands opposite to this dread, what can be so inspiring about this freak accident, is that it gives both of these communities the ability to demonstrate to our greater Jewish people exactly how we should act during Elul. They get the chance to practice what we preach. They don't just get a chance to talk the talk, they get a chance to walk the walk. How do we take on spiritual responsibility? How do we repair harm, especially when it is simply a mistake and there is no individual at fault? And the answer is by doing exactly what they have done, by taking responsibility, by engaging their community, and by utilizing this opportunity to bring forth the very best of our tradition: generosity, intellectual engagement, and solidarity. What started literally as one of my friend's recurring nightmares has become a moment ripe with potential. It is a moment that we are in right now to teach, to do acts of goodness, and to bring Jews across the world together at this sacred time. Ken yehi ratzon. May it be God's will that all fears, that all dreads we harbor as a people should find their way towards this kind of transformation. And may Elul bring all of Israel forward towards this kind of healing. Shabbat Shalom.